I'm now joined by Richard Barber from Carbon Flow. Welcome, Richard.
Thank you.
Tell me about Carbon Flow.
Okay, so Carbon Flow is a San Francisco-based company. We have offices in Zurich and also in Australia, so we're an international startup company. What we're doing is providing an internet service to allow people to get the international carbon offsets done and approved a lot faster.
Oh.
So the effect is that typically up to now there have been delays of 1 to 2 years. With our system you can shorten that to about 4 months. That means you get the carbon reductions happening that much quicker. So from an environmental point of view you're saving carbon. From a business point of view, everyone investing in these projects gets the offsets faster, which they can then sell so they get their money quicker. So it's actually good for everyone.
Sounds like a brilliant plan.
Yeah.
How did you come upon it?
It's an interesting story. Carla Bell is a long-term environmentalist. She's one of our founders, and she was involved in the Green Sydney Olympics back in 1991 and 92. And then she became interested in carbon. She met Neil Dykman, who's our other founder, who's actually an investment banker. So really quite interesting mix for an environmentalist on the one hand and a hardcore financial guy on the other. And they concluded that there was a real need for the service we're offering, but also that it could be a viable business. So it's both green and a viable business. So I suppose it's an example of the early creation of green jobs. Anyway, the company has raised investment funding, Series A money. I joined the company shortly after that event, having a long history in different types of internet and computer systems, but never actually until this in anything to do with the environment.
Wonderful. Sounds like you have the future view on it. I mean, what can we expect in the future from this industry?
What we can expect is really much more offsets. And the offsets will come in internationally, which means it's a way of the developed world to fund clean development abroad. One of the problems that you have with development in developing countries is, do they go down the same polluting path that the developed world has gone down? Well, obviously the answer has to be no. So how do we get there? We need to actually incentivize them and fund those people to develop more cleanly. And in cases where the, say, coal power station is cheaper normally than, say, hydro or wind, you need to have a way of bridging that cost gap, and carbon offsets will do that for you, so that it should make it economically sensible to build a hydro plant instead of building a coal-fired power station. That's the theory behind offsets. So in the end, there'll be regulation across most of the economy in large parts of the world, and you'll see reductions due to new technology within the economy, but you'll also see the purchasing of offsets, which is my particular interest.
Wonderful. And then finally, and very briefly, why was it important for Carbon Flow to be at this summit?
We were interested in being present at a point where there's an interesting dynamic happening. We have an international system, and under the previous administration, the United States just kept well out of it. There was really no contact. We have a new president now who wants to engage fully and reduce climate. And there's a lot of focus on what's happening in California, because traditionally it's been one of the leading states in terms of just across the board in environmental consciousness. It's not the only leading state, but one of the leading states. And so it makes sense for us, given that our market right now is the international market, which is where all the action is right now, to be at this conference, which is in California, and do whatever we can to help California help the US to make the right decision. And one of the right decisions is to engage with the international scheme. Don't invent a separate US scheme, engage with the rest of the world, be happy to trade offsets with developing nations, use that as a way of helping them to develop clean industries, and engage fully. And if that message gets over and that's what happens, then we'll have done our job.
Wonderful. Well, Richard Barber, thank you very much for your time and for your innovative work.
Well, thank you.
Thanks.